welcome to another day in the Milky Way. And believe it or not, tonight we are doing this on a StreamYard. Look at that. We can change our direction and we can be like that. Oh boy, bigger faces. We can go to one person, two persons, and faraway persons. We can even do other things. I don't know exactly how, but I'm glad you're all here tonight, believe it or not. And it's a little slow start. We're going to wait for everybody to get in the chat room as normal. But tonight we're going to do a little bit of history and a little bit of myth and legend. David, did you get anything from any other book? Remember you telling me you were going to try to get another book to do some... And I just dropped everything. Don't worry about me. Life goes on.
I was trying to do a search, and I just haven't come across anything yet. You know, in that, for example, we're in the holiday season of Christmas and everything. Did did any native folks do anything for the winter before the Spanish came over and started, showing them Christmas? And up to this point, I haven't found anything. But in the wintertime, when it was always cold and everything, usually, especially up north, folks were just hunkered down inside their lodges and teepees and wigwams and whatever they had. And they were just hunkered down. But it was a time, though, for people to gather together and share stories and stuff like that. So wintertime in and of itself is kind of sort of, makes people gather together because of the cold. So, but I haven't found anything else up to this point anyway. So, but if I find anything, I'll let y'all know.
Oh, well, I might have just give me a minute. I got this collection of Indian books on my thing, and I'm going to take a look and see if I got something on there. I think I sent you one of those books. I must have 50 or 60 of them on there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I just can't find them right away.
Well, I've got some paperback books here, sort of like the ones you sent. It just American. In fact, I thought this book was the one that I already had. But they're similar stories, but they're different. And so we'll pick another time to read out of it. I'm stick with this book right now so we can share it.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, I'm just seeing here. Let me view these in larger content, large icons. Yeah. Let's see. Something about native. It'd be short biographic adventures. No tales. Address. I'm looking for something that says holidays. But I don't even know if they had holidays.
That's my point. Because they didn't have clocks and references. I mean, they knew what time of year it was, but they didn't have the same type of calendars and time machines and, time machines. That's interesting. But, watches and clocks and all that kind of thing. So,
let's see. I'm looking here. Navajo myths and errors. New voyages. So that's the One Great Plateau. Juanese Paquata.
What I have found out is that the full moons were the ceremonies.
Yep.
And so, there's the hunter moon and the harvest moon and the this moon and the that moon. So with each full moon or, that month of moon, there were things, like when spring came, there were rituals and rites, for fertilization and for the plants to grow and all that kind of stuff. And in the fall, it's the harvesting the corn and whatever else they have, and giving thanks, for the harvest and so forth. So, but as far as a yearly kind of Thanksgiving, all that's man-made. But I was just curious if there was anything, and like I said, not necessarily, but having dealt with folks out west, on the rosebud plantation, and they every year they have ceremonies in early late, actually I guess it would be late summer, late spring, early summer.
Yeah.
And every year they have them, down certain places have powwows at every year at the same time, or close. So, but as far as a sure enough, a holiday, nah.
Yeah. Well, here we go. Hang on. Shrink that, and then I lost my other things. I'm gonna shrink this. I gotta put this back over here. So much for having two screens, right? Okay. Now I'm gonna share this. Let's see if we can find something cool, eh? Let's see. Share screen. And there we go. And I'm used to the Zoom stuff, but here we go. We got this. This is called Indian Legends. Just says Indian Legends by Haskell Institution. And it seems to be a bunch. Oh, there we go. Indian Legends. Maybe it's something in the thing that says something about the Indian Legends by pupils of Haskell Institute, United States Indian Training School, Lawrence, Kansas, printing part 1914. Well, maybe we'll find something. You never know where our show is gonna go. I swear. Let's see. Origin of Stones, a Blackfoot Indian story, the Seven Hunters. If you see anything on here, let me know. The boy who got a land of spirits, the fox and the bear, the girl and the fox, Nee Boshu, the loneliness created prairie dogs, superstitions of Indians, the boy who became a snake, the origin of hunger, Indian and white man, the dipper, the man who became a fish, a Papago tradition, the chipmunk, why the Indian does not show suffering, the chief's daughter, the Indian and the elephant, Indian ceremony of adoption, Indian burial rites, the rabbit and the frog, Indian story of Cinderella, Indian dance is the story of Little Bear, New Year's story, Christmas among... Oh, here we go! Christmas among the Nez Perce. There we go. Christmas celebration among the Indians. Christmas among the Pedigo Indians. Christmas festival among the Indians. Well, see what we get? What do you want to try here? We'll just go with the first one, you think? What do you think? Christmas among the Nez Perce.
You're driving.
67. Let's go. Just guess. It's got to boot up. 47. I was close. Let's just see what happens. 57. Christmas among the Nez Perce. When Christmas comes, there are usually two camp meetings among the Nez Perce Indians in Idaho. The religious and the heathen. Dinners are served at certain houses during the day where all are welcome, rich and poor alike. During the day, let us visit the heathen camps and then back after supper to the religious camp. When we get there, we find that they are dressing up, men and women, children, to take part in a dance called Tokewana. Hope I said that right. This dance comes from the ancient Nez Perce Indians and was used by them. Here, I'm going to blow this up a little bit more. Because I know that Elderberry and Isby are going to say, make sure that's bigger. I can do it blow up a little more. Ah, there, look at that. Maybe
Get
one more.
glasses.
Oops. Makes it hard to turn the page, though. You gotta be really careful. Ooh, look at that. I just touched it, and it just... Don't do that again, huh? Screwed that one up. See what you guys get. Listen, you want to see it bigger, and then there it goes. Christmas among the Indians. There we go. Okay, during the day, Tukawana. This dance comes from the ancient Nez Perce Indians and was used by them in the winter only. The first one is regarded as May 30th among the pale faces. They take out everything that has been handed to them from their grandfathers or grandmothers. This includes buffalo robes, genuine war bonnets, buckskin shirts, leggings, elk teeth, dresses, many of which are at least from 40 to 60 years old. First dance is sad. All are mourning over the lost or the dead. Probably this is done to remind the poor widow whose husband took part in this dance a year ago, but who is now dead. Women and girls are dressed in war bonnets in this dance. While the dance is going on, usually the chief will be in... Oh, gosh, that moves fast. I lost my place. The first dance is warm bonnets. The women and girls are dressed in war bonnets while the dance is going on. The chief will be in the center, beating the drum 4 times in a long while. They have one special song for this, also handed down for generations to the very present day. In this song, everybody will be crying. When the song is ended and turn the page, dance ceases, then they can have any kind of dancing they want, as a war dance, a round dance, spirit dance. Oops, I shrunk that. I didn't mean to shrink that. I just wanted to put it over here where I can see it better. See, I'm having all kinds of problems with this new system. Okay. The dance ceases, then they can have any kind of dance they want, as a war dance, a round dance, a spirit dance, or one who calls it a ghost dance and a silence dance. The later comes from ancient Puget Sound Indians, though thought to be extinct, but the first 2 dances are preferred. Here they give many things away, the same as other festivals. During a war dance, when anybody loses a feather or any ornament, some brave fellow must step in and pick it up. When the feather is lost, suddenly the song changes into commotion, like the beating of a drum, which represents a battle. Then they change off all drummers and singers, beat the drum together at the same time, and the bucks go around in a big circle, where this feather is. Then all of a sudden the brave step into the middle and goes near the feather as if he was in a real battle. He walks around it 2 or 3 times and hits it with his hatchet or tomahawk. Here everybody yells as if they had won the fight. When everybody is seated, he starts out and points in a certain direction where he took part in a war against some tribe and tells it all as it actually happened, and he also tells what brave deed he did there or how many scalps he took that day. All his deeds are marked down on his shield or on his body. An old-time Sioux or Crow or any of those northwestern Indians can understand it, just like commercial students of Haskell Institute understand shorthand. When he is thought they sing one song, usually one that has been handed down from generations. When this song is ended, the warrior steps out again and gives money, blankets, and anything as an expression of thanks that he has escaped death by a narrow margin. Then he presents his usual hands to the chief for him to give to some stranger from some other reservation. Now we have joined the day at the heathen camp and have seen some curious relics of the ancient Indians. Not fakes, but all genuine. Now let us go back in the evening and witness the program given by the religious Indians. The young men of the church have been hard at work getting up the program as well as decorating the Christmas trees. No boy or girl goes home without a present, no matter how rich or poor he may be. As this program is much like our own here in Haskell, one can readily imagine it without telling about it. Some of the old Indians give speeches in their own language. In closing hymn is sung usually a song translated by Dr. Spalding, who crossed the Rocky Mountains with Dr. Marcus Whitman. At the same time, Lewis and Clark made their famous expedition, and so the Christmas celebration ends. Well, that's what they do there.
But I have to interject this. Native Americans weren't heathens until the Christians came.
That is true. But I'm just reading
and the mention of the ghost dance.
Yep.
The ghost dance was created in the 1880s after the near massacre of the Indian nation. And the ghost dance was so that they could call up the spirits of their ancestors to drive the white man from the shores.
This is true. Yeah, well, this book was wrote in 1914, so...
Right,
you know.
But so the things that are in that written statement are false. Some of them are already false.
Well, it depends. Okay, so this book was published then, but if that Dr. Spalding was around at the same time as Lewis and Clark were crossing the thing, that would have been early, that would have been mid-1800s.
Right, or early 1800s.
Yeah.
But to that point, though, their reference isn't an ancient legend. It's what the Nez Perce have done for the last couple hundred years, but it's not ancient. Now, the Wintertime Festival and the drum and that is ancient. So, but you know, them darn heathens, you know. Yeah. But there's also something I have mentioned several times on my channel and here, that, you know, every powwow that I've ever been to always had a Christian prayer, but then they always had a native prayer.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so it's like, what? So people will go, wait a minute, you know, there's all these heathens saying a Christian prayer, but then they also give thanks to the Great Spirit and grandmothers and grandfathers in their own way. So they acknowledge both.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. There's always something. I got a couple other ones on here. Here's another one. It's called Creation. You were going to do some on creation, weren't you?
Yep.
Yeah, this is another book on creation stuff.
I'm going to throw this book up here in front of the camera.
Yeah. I don't know if I can. Here, hang on. If I can enlarge.
I'm gonna say it, but it's Native American legends, not myths and legends. And this is in a paperback form, compiled and edited by George E. Lankford. And I've had this for quite a while, but they're southeastern legends, tales from the Natchez, the Caddo, Biloxi, Chickasaw, and other nations. So it is similar, but not the book that we've been reading from. So.
Yeah. What was it called? Native American or Native myths.
Just Native American legends.
Okay.
The book we've been reading from is Native American myths and legends.
Oh, yeah.
So the only difference is this just says American legends, and leaves out the myths, but to the point. And I told you I had that book, but then when I looked at it, I was like, whoops, not the same.
Nope.
Close to pickle.
Nope. Yep. I'm looking on at these books, and I got Myths and Legends of the Sioux, Native Houses of Western North America, Navajo Legends, Navajo Myths. Nope, none of those. So, okay, so I'm going to shrink this down. Okay, and I am going to share this with you. Let's see what we got here.
Just letting you know we're getting on in time.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, I'm just.
Well, you never know where this show is going to take us.
Oh, I know.
So
You know,
I'm
sometimes it gets away from us, and I was just like, oh.
I know. Creation myths of primitive America in relation to the religious history and mental development of mankind. Huh. So let's see.
Ooh.
Published in 1898. Copyright 1898. Let's see. Dedication. We don't want that. Let's just see what the contents go here. Oh man, I gotta blow some of this up myself. Introduction. Oblis and Memlumis Norwin. Man, I can't even pronounce some of these. I ain't even gonna try. Huh. You know what? I'm gonna have to go through some of these. This sounds really interesting. Tim Pacwa and his daughter of his sisters. The dream of his journey to Duwacha country. The flight of the Tanzanian and the defeat of Hiraku. The first battle in the world and the making of Yana. You ever hear of Yana?
Yeah, but I can't remember where.
Huh. Well, that should be interesting. Well, next week or whenever, unless you want to try something, one of these. But I think you got some stuff there. And enough of me sharing this. I'm going to go back to my book that I like reading out of. And this one's Settlers in the Southwest. We're kind of on this kick with the Southwest, but I got two things here tonight. And this one here is kind of short. It's the American South. A lot of our people in the audience live in the Southwest. And I just wanted to give a big shout out to, hey, David Castle and Witchy Moon and Teresa D'Anton and Isby. Isby might be in the house here. I don't know. And Lucky Stone. Who else would be there? Oh, man, there's so many people that would be.
Michelle and Chloe. And
Chloe, Michelle, yeah. Anyway, if you think of somebody, give a big shout out to them because I know they're in the house somewhere. Can't see you in the chat tonight. Sorry.
That's because we're in a can.
That. Yes. All right. Yeah, because I hope everybody's going to have a great Christmas. I'm looking forward. I'm going to be working a lot. Man, I got to work through Christmas. So anyway, this one's called Settlers in the Southwest. The American Southwest is a land, infinite variety, striking contrast, and stunning beauty. Painted deserts are slashed by canyons of twisted rivers and forested slopes rise into the snow-capped peaks. The earliest human inhabitants drifting down the continent from their point of arrival in Alaska roamed into the region 20,000 or more years ago. For untold millennia, primitive nomads wandered over the wild, semi-arid landscape, gleaming in precarious living. The men chipped out stone spears, points to fell big game, and set snares of human hair for smaller animals, while the women gathered nuts and berries to supplement the diet. Sandals were a necessity for everyone, but only the women wore loin coverings. Tanned deerskin and interlaced strips of rabbit fur served as a winter wrapping and blanket combined. Then, around the beginning of the Christian era, the nomads settled down. The cultivation of corn was introduced, perhaps from Mexico, and the Southwesterners' way of life was changed forever. Dependence on a seasonal crop demanded a more permanent residence. In this new role of a farmer, man started digging food storage pits in the ground, as it was only a short step from storage pits to crude houses made of wood and mud, roofed with smaller timber. No longer merely adapting himself to the environment, man was beginning to make the land work for him. Well, there you go. I don't know if that's all hunky-dory on my plate, but I think the Indians were way more civilized than we give them credit for.
Yes,
think?
I think so. And the idea that somehow they made the land work for them kind of statement
Yeah.
It's like the natives always knew that there's symbiotic, existence with Mother Earth. And, that if you have faith in the creator will always provide. So, that's just their basic creed, and understanding. So this idea that somehow they had to make Mother Earth work for them just seems a little absurd to me. It's almost like that was a non-Indian made that statement. But anyway, Duggar, here's your dog.
Yeah, they're over there playing. The puppy is playing up. Oh, here, King of the World. Oh, let's see. King of the World. My gosh, that was getting kind of long. So I'm going to skip over and we're going to do the Iroquois. I haven't talked about the Iroquois, but they seem to be in all the stories somewhere along the line. Now, we know that the Iroquois were more out east. They were kind of an Eastern Indian.
Can I make a statement before you do that?
Yeah, go ahead.
A lot of these stories that we have are of the Western tribes, west of the Mississippi.
Yes.
And I thought about this, like, why are there all these stories? Because they ran the natives out of the East and didn't bother to collect their stories or nothing. They just wiped them out.
Well, yeah.
So there aren't any really true written documents about the Cherokee, not like they did with the Southwesterns and the Zuni and, So by the time they wiped out the Native Americans mostly and sent them to Oklahoma,
yep.
That all of a sudden now there were people who were interested in the stories. So as we moved west, they said, wait a minute, here's all these Native Americans. They forgot about the ones they murdered and massacred and took over their land on the East Coast, because by the time they moved west, it was an old story. It just wasn't there. So there were little stories here and there, but people weren't interested in writing them down. But by the time they got to the West, it was like, so people started writing the stories down and things, which I think is great. But, the Iroquois stories, and there are very few real sure enough stories, from the East Coast in comparison to the West.
Yes.
Anyway, just wanted to kind of throw that in there.
I totally agree with you because, because when they got to the East Coast, the white man, that was in the early, 1500s kind of thing, and they just started in on killing off the Indians. They didn't care about their history. They just wanted the land. And once they got settled, then it was kind of cool to find out what the history was. It was like, oh, we got rid of them all. I wonder what they were all about. After they're gone.
It kind of got swallowed up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, the Cherokee already had things and buildings, and Cherokee even already had a language and an alphabet, and all. They even had, a constitution of sorts.
Yep.
And so, and white man had nothing to do with that. So, but all of it just kind of either disappeared. It just kind of got absorbed, and what a shame, because there's a lot of history that was lost there. But anyway.
Yeah. Oh, well, let's find out about the Iroquois. I know they lived on the East Coast, and they were kind of one of the first ones to get kind of wiped out. Well, they played a big role in everything, but let's find out what they were. About 1570, an inspired Huron mystic, Degawalaha, brought a message of hope and goodwill to woodland tribes of upstate New York. Put aside pretty feuds, he told them to form a new brotherhood based on law and order. Within 5 years, Delahagawa's first convert and chief disciple, Hiawatha, we all know who that is, not to be confused with Longfellow's romantic hero, guess not, had forged a wilderness confederacy. This is what you were talking about.
Right.
The Indians called it the Great Peace. To the white man, it was the League of the Iroquois. The 5 nations had formed this confederacy were the Mohawk, the Cayuga, the Ogonaga, and the Oneida, the Sena and the Seneca clan. and the tribal, I'm getting better at these names, and the tribal organization was applied to this larger unit with central and pivotal Oganaga, serving as keepers of the fire in the symbolic longhouse that stretched from Lake Champlain west almost to Lake Erie. Ironically, the Great Peace was spread by warfare. In one swift week of March 1649, the Five Nations crushed the Hurons, fellow Iroquois, but traditional enemies. 9 months later, the Tobacco people east of Lake Erie received similar treatment. By the end of the 17th century, the Five Nations, numbering fewer than 20,000 people, were masters of the area from the Ottawa River south to the Cumberland River in Tennessee, and westward from Maine to Lake Michigan. Alone among their efforts at union made by North American Indians, the League of the Iroquois was successful. For nearly 200 years, it was a force feared by neighboring Indians and respected by the white man. So there you go. It tells a little bit about the Iroquois. The Iroquois, who had no written language, used wampum belts as mnemonic devices to record important historical events. The belt above commemorates the unification of the Five Nations in the League. Later, these strings of polished beads made from shells served as currency between Indians and white settlers.
Wampum.
Wampum. Okay. Let's see here. They were oh boy. The picture at left, I'll show you a picture in a minute. An Indian original depicts Alratharo, Medusa-headed Onagala chief whose conversation to the Great Peace marked the foundation of the Leagues. The warriors presenting him with the Staff of Sovereignty wears a British red coat, perhaps celebrating the long, fruitful English-Iroquois alliance for later days. The excruciating slow torture of war captives was considered by the Iroquois a mark of respect to an enemy's valor. In this grisly rite, often prolonged for 2 or 3 days, the victim was supposed to entertain his tormentors and test their ability to invent new and more horrible punishments. The drawing at right, one of the earliest and more graphic European versions of Indian torture, appeared in Memories of David Null in 17th century Dutch voyage to New Netherland. Ugh. Yeah. And if I can show you the pictures, there's the torture, and there is the Medusa guy. I gotta get that up there. Left. There you go. There's the Medusa guy. He had snakes as hair. How crazy is that? And there's the torture stuff. Putting somebody at the stake for fire, and then just sitting around and burning them little by little by little. Puts a whole new spin on we're going to burn you at the stake, but we're only going to burn little parts of you at a time. Whew.
Yeah, they didn't tie him to a pole and burn him like the Europeans did. No, they staked him out to the ground and took sticks out of the fire and burned them.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You get burnt little by little by little by little instead of let's just burn you all at once and you'll be dead in a few minutes. No, we're going to burn you little pieces at a time. We're going to burn you until it hurts, and then you'll be miserable.
And some of these things were tests for the bravery of the braves, the men especially.
Yes.
Because a lot of time the women either were just killed or they were women were too valuable to just burn at the stake kind of thing. But the men, well, that was different because they were warriors.
Yes.
But to give a warrior's death, it's sort of like, we've all seen Viking movies and everything. That they don't want to, die of old age. They want to die as a warrior so they can get into Valhalla. So they're very, very similar. I talked about this before when we were doing the Count and Coop about the Navajo, and dang near every Navajo man joins the Marines because they want to prove that's the only way they can prove that they're a warrior.
Yeah.
And so, the Navajo code talkers in the South Pacific, and, but I've had personal friends that were Navajo in the Marines. Mm-hmm. And so, they're really serious, let me tell you, about their role, not just in the military, but as a warrior, representing the Navajo Nation.
Oh, yeah.
So there's, people just say, well, it's part of, these folks are beyond serious. I'm telling you, they're devoted. They have made their, whatever. But it's their only way that they can actually truly prove that they are a man, by being a warrior. So,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Yeah, so the death thing, I have often thought about it in terms of, watching old movies and stuff, and they would you would see these guys tied to a wagon wheel and tortured,
Yep.
And just weird and strange, but I could not imagine hearing someone scream.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To scream in pain and to torture them for like days. No, I'd be done in about 5 minutes. I'd go kill it. I'd just go over there and kill them just to not hear them scream. Or I'd say, y'all have a good time. I'm going hunting for a couple of days. I just don't know how people could accept that as in the Romans and stuff, and feeding the Christians to the lions, and yay, and applauding, and I just.
Yeah, that would be, yeah, I don't know. I guess, but then again, the way people are living has changed a lot, because think about it. They used to have public hangings and things like that, and people would come to watch,
Oh, yeah, they'd have picnics.
Yeah.
They'd come out for the hanging on Sunday or whatever, and they'd do a picnic. The kids would come out, and they'd all, oh my God, I'm so glad we don't do that these days. But there are folks these days who would swear we haven't lost our violent tendencies. And I would say that the incidents of torture and all these other things, it wasn't just the natives. I mean, them folks over in England during the medieval days and stuff, they did, the rack and the Iron Maiden, and oh my God, come on now,
Yeah.
Them some sick individuals, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it has been inherent in mankind, not everywhere and widespread, but it has been in mankind, regardless of whether it was the Americas or in Europe. Thank God it wasn't, like everybody tortured everybody, but have we come a long way? I would say yes, we have progressed. Now we have online shooter games and stuff. I think that people identify that, but I would much rather than be killing digital warriors than to be out fighting each other in a civil war or something. But, I think mankind has progressed.
Oh, yeah.
There is that inane thing with, like my neighbors who hunt. I used to hunt. I got many friends and other neighbors who hunt. And that's, civilized people say, well, there's just no need for that anymore and whatever. Well, I really like the deer meat that my neighbors bring as a gift to me. And I thank the Great Spirit for, for the animal that is giving me food. And I'm thanking them because they consider it, if they kill a deer and process it and everything, to them, they have to share it. They can't hoard the meat. They have to share it. I mean, I've talked with my dear friends over there, and I was like, I was really impressed by the honor that these old country folks have, in that the deer that they killed, yeah, they put some in the freezer, but they will share it with anybody, everybody. They brought me deer sausage. They brought me You know, spaghetti made with deer meat, and I mean, it's really good.
Yeah.
But so to me, even though we kind of overlook it, there are still people who have that old tradition left in them.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, whether they're, I think we talked about it. They probably got some Native American blood in them somewhere down the line, as a lot of Southerners do because of the Creek and the Cherokee that were down here back then, and the Seminole. But as far as those traditions, I don't know if anybody taught some of these folks that, but they know it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and they hunt with respect, not just for trophy.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. I don't like those people who just go out and shoot for the big buck and then take the meat and throw it to the dogs or something, you know, or nothing. Leave it lay there. You know, if you're going for the big trophy, go ahead, but then donate the meat. Give it to your neighbor, your friends, things like that, because there's people who need it, want it, like it.
There's so many people who would gladly accept it, even if it's just the carcass. You know, say, look, this is a fresh killed deer, a couple hours old. Here you go. You know, do with it what you will.
Yes.
And versus just let it lay in the field. Yeah, and let the vultures eat it. But
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So what do you got picked out for us tonight?
All right, we're running a little long in the tooth, but that's all right. I got a couple of short ones. And it's interesting that when Robert and I first started this, we kind of jumped around in the book, you know.
Yeah,
and
we
so
did.
Here recently, I'm like, we kind of sort of started somewhere in the front, but not really in the front. So tonight we're going to start in the front of the book. As far as the stories are concerned. So I want to read selected and edited by Richard Erdos and Alfonso Ortiz.
You got to tell me what page.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm getting there. I just it's like page 5 or something. Yeah, actually.
Rabbit Boy?
Yep.
All right. Okay, now I got to figure out. I'm getting the king of this. This ain't so hard. Okay. Share screen. And do that. And look at that. Page 5, Rabbit Boy.
Yep, it's a White River Sioux. Okay.
Yep. Got it.
This is a story. Okay, we ready?
Yes, we are ready.
All right. This is a story of Rabbit Boy. In some tribes, it is called the story of Blood Clot Man. As you know, Jenny Leading Cloud said, we Indians think of the earth and the whole universe as a never-ending circle. And in this circle, man is just another animal. The buffalo, the coyote are our brothers. The birds are cousins. Even the tiniest ant, even a louse, even the smallest flower you can find, they are all relatives. We end our prayers with the words, Mitakuyu Oyasin, all of my relations. And for those of you who have heard the prayers that I do, I will insert that in all of my relations. And that includes everything that grows, crawls, runs, creeps, hops, and flies on this continent. White people see man as nature's master and conqueror, but Indians, who are close to nature, know better. And we were just kind of sort of talking about that. But anyway, in the old days, before Columbus discovered us, as they say, we were even closer to the animals than we are now. Many people could understand the animal languages. They could talk to a bird, gossip with a butterfly. Animals could change themselves into people, and people into animals. It was a time when the earth was not quite finished, when many kinds of mountains and streams, animals and plants came into being according to nature's plan. In these far gone days, hidden from us as in a mist, there lived a rabbit, a very lively, playful, good-hearted rabbit. One day this rabbit was walking, enjoying himself, when he came across a clot of blood. How it got there, nobody knows. It looked like a blister, a little bladder full of red liquid. Well, the playful rabbit began toying with that clot of blood, kicking it around as if it were a tiny ball. Now, we Indians believe in Takakang Sakang, the mysterious power of motion. Its spirit is in anything that moves. It animates things and makes them come alive. Well, the rabbit got into this strange moving power without even knowing it. And the motion of being kicked around, or rather the spirit of the motion, and I hope you can grasp what I mean by that, began to work on the little blob of blood so that it took shape, forming a little gut. The rabbit kicked it some more, and the blob, it began to grow tiny hands and arms. The rabbit kept nudging it, and suddenly it had eyes and a beating heart. In this way, the rabbit, with the help of the mysterious moving power, formed a human being, a little boy. The rabbit called him Wito Wasichu, much blood boy, but he is better known as Rabbit Boy. The rabbit took him to his wife, and both of them loved this strange little boy as if he were their only son. They dressed him up in beautiful buckskin shirt, which they painted with the sacred red color and decorated with designs made of porcupine quills. The boy grew up happily among the rabbits. When he was almost a man, the old rabbit took him aside and said, "Son, I must tell you that you are not what you think you are, a rabbit like me. You are a human. We love you and we hate to let you go, but you must leave and find your own people." Rabbit Boy started walking until he came to a village of human beings, where he saw boys who looked like himself. He went into the village. The people could not help staring at this strange boy in his beautiful buckskin clothes. "Where are you from?" they asked him. "I'm from another village," said Rabbit Boy, though this was not true. There was no other village in the whole world, for as I told you, the earth was still in its beginning. In the village was a beautiful girl who fell in love with Rabbit Boy, not only for his fine clothes, but also for his good looks and his kind heart. Her people, too, wanted him to marry into the village, wanted a man with his great mystery power to live among them. And the Rabbit Boy had a vision. In it, he was wrestling with the sun, racing the sun, playing hand games with the sun, and always winning. But Iktomi, the wicked Spider-Man, the mean trickster, prankster, and witch doctor, wanted that beautiful girl for himself. He began to say bad things about Rabbit Boy. "Look at him," Iktomi said, "showing off his buckskin, unfit to us who are too poor to have such fine things." And to the men he also said, "How come you're letting him marry a girl from your village?" He also told them, "In case you want me to, I have a magic hoop to throw over that Rabbit Boy that will make him helpless." Several boys said, "Iktomi is right." They were jealous of Rabbit Boy on account of his strange power, his wisdom and generosity. They began to fight him, and Spider-Man threw his magic hoop over him, though it had no effect on Rabbit Boy. He pretended to be helpless to amuse himself. The village boys and young men tied Rabbit Boy to a tree with rawhide thongs. All the time, the evil Spider-Man was encouraging them. Let's take our butchering knives and cut him up. Friends, Colapia, said Rabbit Boy. If you're going to kill me, let me sing my death song first. And he sang. Friends, friends, I have fought the sun. He tried to burn me up, but he could not do it. Even battling the sun, I held my own. After the death song, the villagers killed Rabbit Boy and cut him into chunks of meat, which they put into a soup pot. But Rabbit Boy was not hurt easily. A storm arose and a great cloud hid the face of the sun, turning everything into black night. When the cloud was gone, the chunks of meat had disappeared without a trace. But those who had watched closely had seen the chunks forming up again into a body, had seen him going up to heaven on a beam of sunlight. A wise old medicine man said, "This Rabbit Boy really has powerful medicine. He has gone up to see the sun. Soon he will come back stronger than before, because up there he will be given the sun's power. Let's marry him to that girl of ours." But the jealous spider, Iktomi, said, "Why bother about him? Look at me. I am much more powerful than Rabbit Boy. Here, tie me up too. Cut me up. Be quick." Iktomi thought he remembered Rabbit Boy's song. He thought there was power in it, magic, strength. But Iktomi did not remember the words right. He sang, "Friends, friends, I have fought the moon. She tried to fight, but I won. Even battling the moon, I came out on top." They cut Iktomi up, and as he had told them, but he never came to life again. The spider had finally outsmarted himself. Evil tricksters always do. Told by Jenny Leading Cloud in White River Rosebud Indian Reservation, South Dakota, 1967, and recorded by Richard Erdos.
Well, by gosh, that was pretty darn good. It was really good. You know, in some ways, that reminds me of, like, you know, I hate to say it, but the Jesus story, you know, cut him up and tie him to a tree and cut him up. And what does he do? He went back up to the sun where he'd get more power. He went up
on a beam of light.
He went up, yeah, on a beam of light. He went up to, you know, heaven or whatever. You know, it's kind of reminiscent of that.
Yes.
You know, it's kind of neat to hear those things because, you know, I always wonder, well, if this one religion has one thing, well, how come the other ones don't have it? So, you know, is it similar? Why? And the Indians weren't tainted by all that other mumbo jumbo stuff, you know, as it like
right.
The Mideast, you know, the Eastern religions like Buddhism, Hinduism, and all of them, they could have influenced Christianity, and then, as you know, paganism that influenced Christianity, and all those other, because they were on the same continents, they were people traveling here and there, yet being in North and South America, there was none of that until the white man showed up.
Right.
And at that point, then the corruption came. So what do we got next?
Well, you know, there was corruptions within the native peoples, but
Yep.
usually the native peoples would just take them out and kill them. Just say, we've had enough of this.
Yeah, that's true.
But, you know, unless somehow the chief, he didn't become chief because he was, you know, in the family. He became chief because of his being master and a good warrior and a great hunter and all these things, because, those are the stuff that add up, right? Those eagle feathers and everything with those headdresses, they were earned, So, but anyway, so a different kind of, I don't want to say hierarchy, but in a way it is. Okay, we're going to skip down to page 14. And this is a short story called The Creation of the Animal People. And then after that one, I got another short one down on page 25, and that ought to pretty much get us our hour.
And I think somebody's saying, you pull a card? Well, we'll see.
We'll see.
All right. Creation of the Animal People. I got it. Here we go. Share screen. I'm getting used to this now. This actually ain't too bad. This one ain't too bad.
Everything takes practice, so.
And yes, it does.
So this is Okanagan. Creation of the Animal People. The earth was once a human being. The old one made her out of a woman. You will be the mother of all people, he said. Earth is alive yet, but she has changed. The soil is her flesh, the rocks are her bones, the wind is her breath, trees and grass are her hair. She lives spread out, and we live on her. When she moves, we have an earthquake. After taking the woman and changing her to earth, the old one gathered some of her flesh and rolled it into balls, as people do with mud or clay. He made the first group of these balls into the ancients, the beings of the early world. The ancients were people, yet also animals. In form, some looked human, while some walked on all fours like animals. Some could fly like birds, others could swim like fishes. All had the gift of speech as well as greater powers and cunning than either animals or people. But deer were never among the ancients. They were always animals, even as they are now. Besides the ancients, real people and real animals lived on the earth at that time. Old One made the people out of the last balls of mud he took from the earth. He rolled them over and over and shaped them like Indians and blew on them to bring them alive. They were so ignorant that they were the most helpless of all the creatures Old One had made. Old One made people and animals into males and females so they might breed and multiply. Thus, all living things came from the earth. When we look around, we see part of our mother everywhere. The difficulty with the early world was that most of the ancients were selfish, and some were monsters, and there was much trouble among them. They were also very stupid in some ways. Though they knew they had to hunt in order to live, they did not know which creatures were deer and which were people, and sometimes they ate people by mistake. At last the Old One said, "There will soon be no people if I let things go on like this." So he sent Coyote to kill all the monsters and other evil beings among the ancients and teach the Indians how to do things. And Coyote began to travel on the earth, teaching the Indians, making life easier and better for them, and performing many wonderful deeds. Reported by Ella Clark in the 1950s. So we have read about Coyote as being the trickster and so forth, but over the many stories, Coyote has been given great power of creation.
Yes.
To spread the creation and to do this. And even though he's the trickster or whatever, and he plays games, even on to creator, the idea though that coyote medicine is powerful.
Yes, it is very powerful.
Across the board, unless native tribes don't have coyotes in their region, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
But anyway.
I think coyotes are everywhere, though. Really, I think they're all across the United States, everywhere. I do think that. Anyway, where are we going next? That was a good one. I sure do enjoy these stories. I don't know about everybody else, but I think they do. I know Renee Hutchinson. She's always saying how much she enjoys them, and she's always. But anyway, and there's several other ones. Jill Jarrett. She's always saying she likes those stories too. So, but hey, that's why everybody shows up for it.
Right. Witch Moon too is one.
Yes, Witchy Moon.
This is on page 25.
25.
Yeah, this pretty much makes our hour.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Just trying to,
Not a problem. Not a problem.
I know we always go over, but I'm trying to stay conscious of it.
The last time, man, we did an hour and a half or so. It was getting a little long, but I don't like to go too long because a lot of people got to go to bed too. So,
right.
Like I do most of the time. So, the glass clap baby, goose clap,
goose cap, yeah, goose cap and the baby.
Okay,
it's Algonquin,
and there we go. Look at that, I did it.
There you go. See, you're only one episode, and you're already getting used to it. Good.
I am. I sure am.
All right, so here we go with the story. Glooskap and the baby. For many Algonquin tribes, such as the Passamaquoddy of Maine, the great Glooskap was first man, culture hero, demurger, trickster, and god. Glooskap, having conquered the Kiawaqu, a race of giants and magicians, and the Metacolin, who were cunning sorcerers, and Pamola, a wicked spirit of the night, besides hosts of fiends, goblins, cannibals, and witches. He felt himself great indeed, and boasted to a woman that there was nothing left for him to subdue. But the woman laughed and said, "Are you quite sure, master? There is still one who remains unconquered, and nothing can overcome him." In some surprise, Glooskap inquired the name of this mighty one. "He is called Wasis," replied the woman, "but I strongly advise you to have no dealings with him." Wasis was only a baby, who sat on the floor, sucking a piece of maple sugar and crooning a little song to himself. Now, Glooskap had never married and was ignorant of how children were managed. But with perfect confidence, he smiled at the baby and asked it to come to him. The baby smiled back and never moved, whereupon Glooskap imitated a beautiful bird song. Wasis, however, paid no attention and went on sucking his maple sugar. Unaccustomed to such treatment, Glooskap lashed himself into a rage and in a terrible and threatening accents ordered Wasis to come to him at once. But Wasis burst into dire howls, which quite drowned the god's thundering and would not budge for any threats. Glooskap, thoroughly aroused, summoned all his magical resources. He recited the most terrible spells, the most dreadful incantations. He sang the songs which raise the dead, and those which send the devil scurrying to the nethermost depths. But Wasis merely smiled and looked a trifle bored. At last, Glooskap rushed from the hut in despair, while Wasis, sitting on the floor, cried, "Goo goo." And to this day, the Indians say that when a baby says goo, he remembers the time when he conquered the mighty Glooskap. From a tale reported by Lewis Spence around the turn of the century.
Well, that is something. That is pretty darn good. I like that.
They're simple to the point. You can keep up with them. You know what I mean? And it's like, wow, you can kind of retell the story without, trying to remember, well, it was this or that. Well, you can say, well, Creator came down and, and drove away all the evil. But, then there was this woman that said, well, in that teepee over there is something you can't subdue. And so, you could retell this story and still keep the basic meat of the story. You know what I mean? So, but anyway, because we find some of these stories that are similar,
Yeah. They come from different tribes, so I suppose they got tweaked a little bit here and there.
Yeah, but there are some of the stories like we've talked about before that are really similar, like to stuff in the Chinese and Hindu and even African natives do certain things. It just a lot of they never talked before, but you got to wonder if for the idea of the quantum reality, the quantum, the energy that's all around us. It's the source, and native peoples, they understand it. It's all around them, always. So is this a consciousness of the different peoples? And regardless of where on the planet, the consciousness kind of sent them in this direction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there are those who would say, well, that's God. Well, okay, but if, how did they have these similar things when they never met? Just saying.
100 monkey.
Exactly. So, but in that, the native peoples didn't have anything to distract them. Okay?
Yes.
So at nighttime, there was a fire. If the weather was good, they sat outside and watched the stars or whatever. They told stories. They used the evening time to like sew moccasins or do something like that, but if you've ever gone, for me, if you go camping for a week and you are, instead of being in a mobile home with, with electricity and all, if you really are, very basic lights and a flashlight and a fire.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Then after about the third day is like there's a whole different feel about you, because you're just only connected with with the universe. And so when you have that, just people say, wow, this is just really cool. Well, they lived it every single day of their life. So their connection to the universe and to Mother Earth and etc. was just so more in tune and acute. So was there thousands of years ago, was there this master thought that kind of got translated to the different peoples and they adapted it for their own tribes?
This is true. Either that or the only other thing I could think of is they were thinking they had these stories in other lands, like we talked about the 100 monkey thing. And I'm sure you could relate to this, that if there's a story being told across the seas about, say the Bible story, we'll just use that for instance, because everybody knows it. And then you have, dream time or out of body experience or something like that. You may actually witness this or, tap into that story over there. Yet you can't relate the names or the people or whatever like that. So you kind of go, wow, that was a great dream. It was so real. I think I'll just tell it as coyote and rabbit, in the same story fashion, because how would I say it's, Paul, Joe, and John, or Jim and, his other brother. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And to that one story where the people and the animals, because we are animals, we have to, and sometimes wonder if humans are any smarter than, and a lot of humans just ain't as smart as some animals that I know. But anyway, the idea though that animals could change into humans and humans could change into animals.
Mm-hmm.
And that, that kind of sort of goes back, into some Greek mythology. But it isn't, so it's like, so where did they get this idea, and it's a really old idea. I mean, it's a 1500, 2000, 3000 year old kind of thing. Yeah. So it just wasn't dreamed up, white man didn't do it. But so you got to scratch your head and just I'm still in amazement. For one of the things, years ago, my daughter and some friends and folks that I know within the native tribal communities do flint napping. And so I was doing, some research on flint napping. And there was also a thing like they were trying to establish where did early native folks come from? Well, they came from, here's the thing. For some reason, man had to migrate from Europe somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, really? They had to? So they had to come from Russia and around Alaska and down. They had to, right? Mm-hmm. So it was all about the Clovis point. And so I was reading this and following up and doing my own research because folks that I know who make arrowheads. I was like, but then all of a sudden they was like, wait a minute. We found some Clovis points somewhere in the United States that predated the ones that they thought came from around Russia. Yeah. And they were like, wait a minute.
How'd they get
now
there?
They have stopped and thought maybe the Clovis point started in America and went backwards.
It could be.
But this is supposed to go back to caveman, you understand? Mm-hmm. So, but in North America, apparently, if you listen to the anthropologists and so forth, it was empty of man until they came from Europe.
Yeah.
And that there was nobody here. And, come on. Well, the native stories told of giants, of wizards, of magicians, and that Glooskap got rid of them all so the humans could live. How about that one, right?
Yeah,
Is that true. Like the fallen angel kind of sort of God came in and got rid of it? I mean.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's the weird part, like the Native Americans talk about giants. And I think we read one or two here somewhere along the way.
Yes.
And yet there's stories of giants in the old world.
But so they don't want to tell it. They don't, they make light of it.
Yeah, but I mean, the Indians tell stories of giants, but yet,
all the time.
I mean, you can see David and Goliath kind of giant thing in the Bible deal, and there is talk about giants being there. So the point is there was giants here and there was giants there. Well, you can't make that stuff up. I mean, obviously there was giants.
And we everywhere. Have found many bones and relics and stuff like that fit them too. So, and in the UFO area, the giants, that there's a race of giants like that lived on Saturn or something, and that they're a true race of peoples, and they came here to Earth not necessarily as gods, but to help build the civilization.
Yeah.
Like the pyramids, and they were invited here, and some of them stayed, and some of them went back home. Mm-hmm. What? Well,
Yeah.
Why don't we see more bones?
Yeah. Well, you got to figure that was, bones are bones. It's like when you find bones here of giants. It seems like the Smithsonian takes them bones and says, "We'll put them away somewhere safe," and then they disappear. Same in other countries too, I mean, it's kind of weird how that happens. It's like the history wants to be erased. They want to erase that old history and say, no, because people would freak out saying, well, then everything isn't the way we thought it was.
Right. And if they were to bring out some of them giant bones, it would prove my hypothesis that giants helped build the pyramids and some of these other things, because some of these giants were 70 feet tall. Some of them were an average of like 35 feet tall. The peak of my house is 25 feet. So that would mean these buggers would be 10 foot taller than the tallest point in my house. What? Right. You know, I look up there and go, holy crap. You know?
Well, you know, the technology. I've been reading this book called Dead Man's Secrets, and it talks about the technology. You know, people, be real. You know, these cavemen kind of people were building giant pyramids with their spare time. You know, they were carving big stones out of rocks and bending them up so that they fit together like building blocks, where you can't even stuff a razor blade between the rocks.
With copper tools.
Yeah.
Think about trying to etch your name into solid granite with a penny.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, what? Yeah. Take a penny and try to, you know, you're going to wear that penny down a long before you wear that rock down. So
how long do you think, the question is how stupid are we that we're believing the historians saying that, they dragged like I was reading about the Incans and stuff where, you know, was it that one that's way up on top of the Machu Picchu. So they dragged these giant rocks from one mountain down the valley and up the other side of the mountain. I forget how, it was like 100 miles or something crazy like that. 15-ton rocks, and they hauled tons of these from one mountain down the valley, up the valley of the other mountain, and then molded them in the perfect shape, smoothed them down, put them together. Now, at what purpose? Now, here's another thing that baffles me. You know, and I was looking at this, they were talking about building these walls that were, 20 or 30 feet thick and, 80 feet tall, right? Okay. Tell me what's wrong with that picture.
A lot.
I'm gonna build, even if I had the manpower and the know-how to build a wall, a fortress wall. Now remember, you're dealing with Indians here, and you're gonna make it 30 feet thick, 80 feet tall. Who are you keeping out? You see what I'm getting at? Right. What did they have to fight with? They were throwing sticks and stones and arrows and bows, and you need a 30-foot thick wall to keep these other tribes out. I mean, come on, really? 30 feet, 80 feet tall? You're not keeping out Indians with sticks and stones. You're
and the other thing is
else.
The other thing is, it's at the top of this mountain.
Well, yeah, that's
it. Is way up there. But here's something else. If you're still talking about Machu Picchu, it's built in tiers, terraces, and the amount of engineering they did that's underground that nobody sees today, but they did these, X-ray surveys and whatever. There is this huge system of water running through channels into different things. It collects water. Yeah. It's a giant water collector. Yeah. And it's amazing the engineering that went into before they took the rocks up there. They had to dig channels. They had to excavate it. Some of these things are like, they had to have a transom or something to be able to shoot some of these things. They're straight. I mean,
Yeah.
But at the top of a mountain, how did they get one rock up there, let alone the rest of them?
Yeah. See, then the whole point is why are you building it at the top of the mountain? And then who are you trying to keep, the invaders? If you're building at the top of the mountain, you're already on top of the mountain. You could put up a small fence and keep pretty much anybody else off that mountain, because everybody's got to come up to get you. So then what's the point of building all the big thick walls?
Yeah, because all you got to do is roll rocks down on them. I mean.
Yeah, you're at the top of the mountain. If you're shooting arrows, you're shooting down.
Well, not only that, but the people at the bottom of the mountain are going, let them sit.
Yeah.
Because they got to come down. Or they'll starve or whatever, right? So I
Yes.
mean, no, we'll just sit down there and wait for them.
Well, it's the same. It's the same as those pueblos out in Arizona or wherever, under the cave dwellings. Did you ever see those ones where the doorways, they use ladders? They built
Right.
their city inside a cave, and then the doorways are like 10 or 15, 20 feet in the air, and they got to have ladders to get up to their house.
So
Now,
that when they got up there at night, they could pull the ladder in and sleep comfortably, knowing that ain't nobody going to climb up there.
yeah, but think of it this way: who and what?
Right. Right.
Why did you build your city inside a cave?
Well, there's a lot of good reasons for that, but to the point, why that high and why a ladder, and how many um, roaming tribes were there back in those days? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's the Pueblo and the Zuni and the this, but in order for folks to be that scared and to have that much protection, it seems like there was a lot of something else.
Well, that's what I'm saying
and it could have been giants.
Well, that too, but here's the thing: is if I'm building my whole city inside a cave, right? Now, usually, if you're inside a cave, there's one entrance, which is the cave doorway, right? So if you and your whole city are inside that cave, if I'm another tribe and I want to conquer you, wouldn't I just stake you out, just like you said, you're on top of the mountain? Wouldn't I just stake out in front of your cave door, and then you have to come out sometime to get water and food and all of that? So that's a bad choice. In my eyes, that's a really bad place to be running away from another tribe, a conquering tribe, and then building your doorway 10 foot in the air. Are you really going to protect yourself from some invading tribe? But, oh, we can't reach up there. Oh my gosh, we don't know how to build a ladder.
Right. Well, here's something. In the there's a mountain over Israel way, okay? And a few years ago, they found this cave that's way up high, right? And they went in and found this thing was an entire city, like 15 or 20,000 or more people could have lived there with horses and water. And they were going, there's a video about it or two probably, but anyway, when you go through the tunnels that they carved, the space, the tunnel between two rooms would be smaller and you'd have to crouch down. And they were like, why didn't they make them taller? Well, the taller rooms, the smaller, it acts like a siphon, and it keeps fresh air flowing all the time. And there are scientists over there that are studying the airflow in the caves, because it's like there's no stagnant air. And there are holes, punched through into the air above to like vent the place. And it was like, what? And these were ancient peoples, okay, Israelites, whatever, back in the time of the pharaohs, but they were under attack by, Genghis Khan kind of folk. And they, somebody said God told them, showed them how to build this thing in the mountain, and they went in there and lived. But they had everything they needed in the mountain.
Yeah.
They had goats and sheep, and other than straw and hay and things, which they had to go out and get. But, oh my gosh,
Yeah. Well, I just think that something like that, they were hiding from something else, because because the guy, like, if they were hiding from Genghis Khan, all he has to do is stake out the doorway, and as you come out, hey, got one, here comes another one, and you don't think those invaders would have said, oh, let's find the holes, or the venting is coming out, plug them up. Dump some hot liquid down there, or some poison gas, and we'll flush them out. Kind of like you would a pack of gophers or something, or put some water down there. We'll flush them out real fast.
I think one of the things with some of the caves, and with sandstone, it's really easy to carve.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't take a lot. I mean, you can carve sandstone with a good hard stick. So, but the designs of them, the way they were laid out,
Yep.
is like, now the other thing, it took current man, they overlooked it. So did they build it in this mountain to hide? And if we couldn't find it with all of our quote technology, did Genghis? I don't know if it was Genghis Khan or not, but but to the point though, did they just not find it?
Well, then there's
I mean, seriously, did they just not find these people because they were hidden?
But then again, look at all these other cities that are right in front of our noses that have been lost for, thousands of years. Tulula. We were talking about who was it? The last week. Last week we were talking about the Oh, I can't think of their name now. And the Indians in South America or Mexico area,
Right.
and they had the city Tulula or whatever it was, and it was a great city, yada yada yada. The whole nation went down from a civil war and was lost for 800 years. Nobody knew where it was. How do you lose a whole city?
How do you lose a pyramid?
Yeah, there's pyramids out there all over the place. Just
how do you lose a pyramid? Well, of course, now I can understand when the jungle takes over, it just becomes a mountain.
Yeah.
But I mean, there are a lot of people who poo-poo the Bosnian pyramid, for example. Yes. But I've watched them, I've seen it, and they're like, oh, they're trying to make something that ain't there. Oh no, there's something there. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, there's something there. Mm-hmm. Exactly what or whatever, I don't know, but nature doesn't necessarily make those straight lines the way they do some of these mountains. I've seen some hills and stuff that I've scratched my head and go, that mountain line, it's just too straight. It's just too straight,
And you might get one straight edge, but do you get two or three?
Or three? And if they converge at the top at a very close point, I mean, that's just like, what?
Yeah, but too much.
Well, which also kind of brings into that, when I was gone over the summer, I stopped at Serpent Mound up in southern Ohio. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't as grand as I thought it was going to be. I mean, I thought it was like really huge, tall. It's not. Now, is it laid out and everything? Is it cool? Yeah, but for some reason, I thought it was more grand. But so the native people's there. Ooh, they made this great big serpent. Well, a bunch of people could get together like they did over at Milky Mounds, and build a pyramid type structure out of sand.
Yeah.
Period. Just piled sand up and tamped it down, and the remnants where they got the dirt is right beside this hill. Okay, you could see this big ditch carved out where they dug it out with baskets and carried it up there and made this mound. So those are mound builders. Okie doke. Well, you can see how they did it.
Yes.
It's obvious that they could have done this with some sticks and some rocks and some baskets,
Yeah, and it's sand. It's sand. It's not bedrock or granite.
Right. It's not a 40-ton rock.
Yes, exactly. And you got people with baskets, stick stones, and rocks, and primitive tools digging out a hillside and making a mound of dirt. Can be done. But when you say, I'm going to get rocks 500 miles away, and we're going to take 15-ton blocks and move them 500 miles, and then we're going to stack them up on top till we get to be the tallest structure in the world and call it the Great Pyramid. Now you start going, I just think people had better things to do than that. I mean, really. So anyway,
Well, and to that point, and we can wrap this up with this. You know, they built it for the pharaohs.
hmm
Okay, but what did the pharaohs really want it for? I mean,
yeah,
you know, there was so much more than just religion in there, right?
yeah,
That we really don't know. We're just guessing, right?
hmm
And so they look at this hieroglyph and we know what it means. You
hmm
really might not, because
yeah,
one of the things there was an exhibit of not King Tut, but Ramses the second
hmm
that toured around so many years ago now. And I went over to Jacksonville and went to the exhibit. And you see these things up close from all them years ago, and you go, no, 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 no. These folks knew something else. I'm sorry. Exactly what? Don't know. But this idea, oh, I know what it was. It was like they were showing this panel of hieroglyphs, right?
hmm
And they said, you know, do you see this little thing right here? And it was like, this was, guess what? The artist had a joke. He
hmm
put him and somebody and one of his family members in this little tag at the bottom of this wall, and it
yeah,
was like his signature, you know.
hmm
And they said, well, wait a minute, but they noticed on another wall or in something else, it was the same guy's name, kind of thing, almost like the same brushwork. And they were like, what? So this idea that we know exactly what them pictures represent,
hmm
and it's just part of it.
yeah, yeah. There's more to it than what we can think of. You think, see, here's the thing. With all the technology that they had to have, geometry and mathematicians and engineers and everything to build that Great Pyramid, right? This is what bothers me. You got all of that, and yet your language is hieroglyphics and picture stories.
Right.
The best you can do is copper tools, and yet you can build a big pyramid. You couldn't invent the wheel, but you can move a 15-ton block.
With slaves. And you know, I mean, for me it's like simple things. It's like, where'd they get all the string?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What? Well, anybody that's done any construction work, you gotta have string to lay the thing out. You got to be able to have some kind of measuring device, you know, to measure diagonally to make sure that you're square.
Yeah, and you had to have, and the pyramids are lined up with star constellations and things like that, and north and south and east and west and kind of things. So the weird part is, well, they would have had to have a compass. They would have had to know the world was round. They would have had to know that there's other constellations out there and so forth and so on. So you start adding all that up, and it's like these people weren't dumb.
Not a
They
bit.
they had a lot of smarts, but yet they couldn't really write. They had to use little picture scenes to tell a story. I can just see it now. I want to go 5 feet. Drop me some stick guys going with 5 little feet. Yeah, I see that. You want to go 5 feet now, huh? Yes, 5 feet.
As big as the base is of a pyramid. I've worked construction, you know, I built my own house and stuff. And, you know, but the idea is that if you want a square building, then you lay it out best you can. And then you measure from, you know, diagonally from one corner to the other, and you adjust it until it's square, until both of those match.
Yep.
And, but so that's one hell of a long ruler, or
Yeah.
you know, I mean, we're talking, you know, acres, right? How big is a fair? So you're going to have lines. You got to have people that know that those diagonal corners have to be equal. I mean, the amount of mathematics involved just using string. Forget about the rest of it, but just to lay the dang thing out.
Well, they
You know,
said that
they didn't have laser levels and stuff like that. They had string, you know.
yes, and see, that's what bothers me is and what they said is too is isn't it the base of the pyramid is the distance in to the sun? the same distance to the sun as the meters around the pyramid or something like that. It's some crazy number, but it's all the same. Duggar ain't barking at my dogs this time.
No, there's something outside. Big, woo! When he does that kind of bark.
Oh, okay.
We've got armadillos in the yard that will come out at night and stuff, and I feed the cats outside, and there are possums and stuff that come up and eat. So, but he's like in attack mode right now. Well,
okay.
I pulled a card while nobody was watching.
You go right ahead, read that card.
And that'll wrap it up for tonight.
Yeah.
And we wish everyone a happy and safe holiday season. Whatever that holiday may be for you, whether Christmas or Kwanzaa or whatever. So, but anyway, and this is sort of interesting in that, we pull a card that, and sometimes does it match what we've been talking about? Well, in a way, this is Lizard number 36, and it's dreaming. So, but in the dream world is where we get inspiration for ideas. Like, for example, we were talking about, a little while back about, was there this cosmic consciousness that the native peoples thousands and thousands of years ago, it was just, everybody kind of sort of knew a similar thing just because it exists. Okay. So, but it's in the dream world, right?
Yep.
But our dreams, we're looking back at the past and still learning, right? And so, and in our dreams, some of our dreams become realities. But anyway, Lizard, will you dream with me? Travel across the stars, beyond the place of time and space. There live visions from afar. I gotta redo my glasses here.
2 glasses time.
Right. This is a story about Lizard. So Lizard, he's sitting under a rock out in the desert, and a snake crawls by looking for some shadow. And so the snake watched Lizard for a little bit, and he saw Lizard's eyeballs went side to side behind his enormous closed lids. Snake hissed to get Lizard's attention, and slowly Lizard's dreaming eyes opened, and he saw the snake. "Oh, Snake, you scared me. What do you want?" Snake spit his answer from his forked tongue. "Lizard, you're always getting the best shadow spots in the heat of the day. This is the only big rock for miles. Why don't you share your shade with me?" Lizard thought for a moment, then agreed. "Snake, you can share my shade spot, but you have to go to the other side of the rock, and you must promise not to interrupt me." So Snake was getting annoyed. He said, How could I bother you, Lizard? All you're doing is sleeping." Lizard smiled knowingly. "Oh, Snake, you are such a silly serpent. I'm not sleeping. I'm dreaming." Snake wanted to know what the difference was, so Lizard explained. "Dreaming is going into the future. I go to where future lives. You see, that is why I know you won't eat me today. I dreamed you, and I know you're still full of a mouse." Snake was taken aback, and he goes, "Why, Lizard, you're exactly right. I wondered why you said you would share your rock." Lizard laughed to himself, and "Snake," he said, "you're looking for shade, and I'm looking for shadow. Shadow is where the dreams live. Lizard medicine is the shadow side of reality, where your dreams are reviewed before you decide to manifest them physically." You got to think about it first. Lizard could have created getting eaten by the snake if he had so desired. Lizard is the medicine of dreamers. Whether dreamers smoke you or dream you, dreamers can always help you to see the shadow. The shadow can be your fears or your hopes or the very thing that you may be resisting. but it is always following you around like an obedient dog. If Lizard dreamed of space in your cards today, it may be time to look and see what is following along behind you. Is it your fears, your future trying to catch up to you? Or is it the part of you that wants to ignore your weaknesses and your humanness? Lizard may be telling you to pay attention to your dreams and their symbols. Make a dream log and record all that you can remember. Be sure to pay attention to each individual symbol or recurring patterns. Dreams are very important. Pay attention to them. But also, I was stating this in a kind of, and we can kind of mention this here too. But this is the end of the old year. We're here. It's December. We got, just what, 2 weeks ish less.
Yep. About 2
before
weekends.
the new year, right? So,
yeah. Less than 2 weeks.
We're getting rid of the old stuff, and we're going to be welcoming in the new. So I've been trying to explain to people, let's not make this complicated. There's so many things going on in the world. If we try to I want to solve, peace in the world, that just ain't going to happen. But we could pray for peace in our neighborhood, and we can still hope for peace in the world, but the world's a big place, and there are a lot of people arguing about a lot of stuff we don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
So, but, it doesn't mean that our prayers shouldn't, go forward. But if we look at this coming year with fear, then that's what we can manifest. So we're going to leave our fears this year. We're, when and it's really close to time for the, longest night, shortest day. Leave your fears here in this year. And our future, which is still in the dream state, it's still in the shadows. It has not quite taken shape. Let's not put fear in it. Let's keep the fear out. And we'll just hope for the best. So 4 words that I'm stressing for this year. Have a good year. It's so simple, right to the point. You don't have to call on Jesus or nobody, no offense, but, I don't mean that badly, but it's very simple. So everybody, let's leave our fears here this year as a Christmas present to Mother Earth, and welcome in the new year. And everybody have a happy new year.
Yeah, well, and that's right. If you say it enough times, have a good year, you get that in your head, and you will have a good year because it's a positive thought.
Well, there's so many things for us to worry about. Will Putin take over Russia? Will the Afghans get something? Well, will little Sally see Santa Claus this year? I mean, there are so many things out there that for us to be worried, scared, or terrified about. And we're going to leave it here this year and go in. Now, it might still be there, but I'm not going to manifest it,
I guess that's what I was trying to say is you keep it a positive and keep saying it's going to be a good year. It will be, because you're going to manifest that positive thought. I like that. And dreaming. I had some wild dreams lately. I dreamed of a planet where I was growing hay, and then they asked me what I should do with all that hay, and I says, well, we need to put some cows on this planet. I grew a whole planet full of hay, and we need some cows to eat it off.
Some sheep and some goats and,
just
horses.
Cows. Yeah, I know. It would have been good. I just said cows. I don't know why, but anyway. So that's my thoughts. I had been trying to keep track of some of my dreams lately too. So that's a good thought. And being the new year, right now we're in the year of the rat with the Chinese stuff. And next year will be the year of the tiger. So there you go.
Eye of the tiger.
That's right. Will be the eye of the tiger. Okay, with that, everybody, I tell you what, this has been a great show. Thank you all for coming. I am grateful for all of you. I hope you have a wonderful and great Christmas. I hope that you spend it with your loved ones, your family and friends, or whoever you want to be with at that time. If you can't be with anybody, call somebody on the phone and say, hey, just send out a Christmas card. And if nothing else, write a letter. Express your thoughts in a letter to somebody, say something nice. They will appreciate it. I love you all, everyone. And you give me great joy. Thank you for all you do for me, all the nice, wonderful letters you sent. And David Null, thank you for being my friend. This has been a great year. And it's wonderful. Remember, be the frequency you want to receive. I love you all, everybody. Peace.
Cheers.